Okay, let's go ahead and get started on this video of Unreal Engine study session. Welcome back to this another session here. I'm your host, Strange Bro Jim. I see Blackheart is in the stage here real quick, but I wanted to kind of explain what we're doing here for those of you that are either joining my stream for the first time or you clicked on this video on YouTube. Both of us are currently working on trying to learn as much as we can about the Unreal Engine. We're currently working on the Unreal Engine 4.27 because that's as much as Blackheart's computer can handle, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to just keep on using that for the time being. Um, you know, if his setup changes or gets better, then obviously we'll move. We'll consider that later on. But for right now, we work with what we got. So, um, but we're continuing to work on looking up the information on the Unreal Engine, learning as much as we can before we consider working on projects. The first project that we are going to consider is some form of clone that we'll, put out there just for, people to kind of check out and see if there's any like comments about it. Feel free to, check it out yourself and play it, when we finish it, that kind of thing. But obviously, we're not going to make a single dime off of that, or we shouldn't be making a single dime off of that because it will be a clone of some other game that's out there, like, Minesweeper or Risk or whatever. Something that's already been created. Okay, we're going to try to make a clone of something. Then using all the knowledge that we gained from making that game, as well as the study sessions that we're doing, we're going to be making another game by us. We're going to figure out like what kind of game do we want it to build, and we'll be making a new game that has not been made before. We're going to design it. We're going to uh, you know, figure out what we want on it, and we're going to try to build it and get it out there as much as we can, as soon as we can, and, maybe make a little money off of it. You never know. So that's the plan for this. So let me go ahead and invite Blackheart in, and we will get started.
Hello there, Jim. How you doing?
How's it going there, Blackheart?
I'm doing okay.
Mm. That's good, man. That's good. Okay, so where we left off yesterday, we finished off.
No, uh,
What's up?
the day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday, right? You were out yesterday. That's right.
Mm.
Um, so if I remember correctly, we had finished off the mixed sources, I believe, section.
I think so, yes.
Um, at least I No, I do know that we went through the procedure generated sound sources. That
Yeah, we
much.
did go because I had looked up what source bus was, and I kind of explained it to you what I had found, so I'm sure mixed sources was already done.
Yeah. But I don't think we covered through the sound source DPS effects processing. I don't think we got to
No,
that part yet. So
no, we did not.
yeah, so we still got that section to do. The submix, sending submixes, master submixes, generating output, and additional submix features. So we're definitely going to be getting into the submixes, and it looks like this can be kind of complex. So I don't know how much we're going to be able to understand out of it all, but I mean, we'll do what we can, right?
Right.
All right. So, ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, let's get started then. So, once a sound source has generated its audio, its output is fed through a chain of audio DSP effects. There are some built-in effects that all sound sources automatically have access to. These DSP effects are high-pass filter and low-pass filter, and are used for a variety of high-level features. Let's see. We learned prior what high-pass filter and low-pass filters were prior. It was in the section before, if I remember correctly.
I think so too.
Hold on, let me just high pass filters.
Hey, thank you for the follow there, Ephemera.
Guess not. Well,
You've
I
heard it
guess,
multiple times, definitely.
yeah. It must have been in like maybe the audio engine overview, but they did, kind of go over this a little bit.
Yeah.
What these were covering. I'm just blanking on what they were for again. But oh well. So once again, they didn't really cover what DSP is, but it's just like I think it was called like digital source processing or something like that.
Yes, I think that was it.
Yeah. So. Alright, so through sound attenuation settings, sound designers can map filter frequency cutoffs of high pass and low pass features to apply to individual sound sources as a function of distance from the listener. Um, Another feature that utilizes this per source filter is the built-in occlusion system. If occlusion is enabled, and then a sound is obstructed behind occluding geometry, determined via async ray traces. It will automatically apply a sound designer defined low-pass filter. Finally, sound mixes and sound classes can apply per source low-pass filtering to sounds. And beyond the automatic built-in filter effects, sounds can also feed themselves through what is called a source effect chain. This is an asset that defines a sequence of per source DSP effects that are authored via a source effect plugin API and can be anything. Chorus effects, flangers, delays, advanced filters, ring modulation, bit crushing, and so on. Okay. um, Not quite sure what these last bits are referring to, but
Don't know.
yeah. But hey, maybe we'll find out more about it later. Maybe.
Hopefully,
Um, but if we don't, then maybe, you know, maybe
someone can explain it to us, maybe what these are.
yeah, a little comment or two. Explaining each one of these maybe. Um, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, obviously there's still some keywords here that, we haven't fully locked everything into our brains yet. But at the same time, there are some parts that are it's like, okay, well, you can kind of understand it a little bit as well, such as the occlusion system obstructed behind occluding geometry, you know, so those kind of make sense, right?
Right.
Um, so there's some parts where it's like, okay, I get what they're trying to go for, but at the same time, there's parts where it's like, how does this apply again? That kind of thing. Um, so shall I move on, or do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit more?
No, I think the only thing I only have questions is that those last few words.
Yeah,
That's all I would like to know what exactly they're referring to there.
yeah, indeed. Okay, so the submix graph. After source generation, the audio mixer then processes the submix graph. The output of a submix graph is the audio that is heard on audio hardware. Okay. Sending to submixes. A master submix is created in the audio engine when the audio engine is initialized. By default, all sound sources are automatically registered to the submix as its base submix, if no other submix is specified as the base submix. Okay. This might be kind of interesting to see how they would generate that.
Mm,
Base submix being made from all sound sources. Um, I'm, I'm assuming that that's something like, hey, if you have the sound source enabled, then it will be added. But if it's not enabled, then maybe it doesn't automatically get added to the base submix. Um,
Possibly.
it's the only thing
The
that,
engine itself has a library to handle that.
yeah. I mean, it would seem odd to add a sound that, like, maybe you have a sound that only occurs like once and it has to be triggered, right? Why
Right.
would you want to add that into like the base submix at the initialization, right? Just putting that out there.
Mm,
So I'm assuming that um, it would be like all sound sources that are enabled, or should be being, should potentially be played like right near the very beginning of the game or something like that, are automatically registered. If it's all sound sources, then oh my gosh, that's it. That
yeah.
that could be potentially a very huge base submix if that's the case.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know everything that could potentially be there. Um, but a source's base submix is the submix that mixes the sound output at full volume, post attenuation, post spectralization. Any number of send submixes can also be specified. Wait, um, they didn't close the bracket.
No. I forgot to close the bracket.
So I'm assuming that they wanted to put a closed bracket after post spectralization, but they didn't, and they forgot to. That
Probably.
because I'm assuming that because this kind of continues on from that last sentence. So, you know, so I have to assume that right at the moment. Any number of send submixes can also be specified, which allows mixing sources together before sending through auxiliary DSP effects. These send submixes are analogous analog is to auxiliary channels for DSP effects like reverb in a digital audio workstation or mixing console. Okay, I said a lot of words there, but not. My brain was like, and didn't really feel like it latched onto anything there per se. So let me kind of go through it again.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not quite sure what they mean by send submixes per se. Um, you know,
Mm,
which allows mixing sources together before sending through auxiliary DSP effects. Um, so maybe that's what it's kind of referring to, in that it's sending mixed sources. I don't know.
Hmm.
These send submix
Or myself.
and these send submixes are analogous to auxiliary channels for DSP effects like reverb in a digital audio workstation or mixing console. Um, hmm. I'm again not quite sure exactly what they're. It feels like there's that send submix is kind of what's throwing me off, I guess, on this one. Because I'm not quite sure exactly what they're referring to per se on it. Um, in that, um, what did they mean by analogous to auxiliary channels for DSP effects? They're saying like reverb in a digital audio workstation or mixing console. Okay, well then, you know, I don't know. I'm not quite getting that um I'm not fully understanding everything that's kind of going on
Hmm.
there.
Neither am I.
Um like there's in some ways it's like okay, I guess you know, like reverb in a digital audio workstation. Okay, but what does that have to do with the send submixes? What exactly is send submixes to do that? In what context? How, what's the connection there? Kind of thing. It's like, I'm feeling like there might be something I'm missing here specifically that might be throwing it off. But, I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm just speaking my mind right at this moment in time. I'm not sure. Um, maybe a rewording of that paragraph might help. If someone gets it, then please maybe try to explain it differently if you can. If there's a way to explain it differently, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not quite sure where the disconnect is out of there, out of this paragraph. You get what I'm saying?
Aside from the missing bracket.
Yeah, I said missing brackets is nothing.
Yeah.
In the full, uh, with it altogether, that means nothing in the grand scheme of things. But it's along the lines of what um like you have 10 submixes, and you have talking about digital audio workstation. What's the bridge there? What's the missing link? They're talking about it, but yet I'm still not necessarily getting it. It's kind of hard to put in words.
Yeah.
So, shall I move on?
Yeah, let's.
Okay. As discussed earlier, there is a default routing that happens to a sound source that does not specify any submix routing. However, there are two primary means of controlling when the sound source sends its audio to submixes. The first is to specify the base submix. This submix mixes the sound at full volume. If left blank, it will route the audio to either the EQ submix or the master submix, depending on the legacy features. Okay, what's the second?
They forget you at the second? Okay.
I mean, it's just like, they say, however, there are two primary means of controlling where the sound source sends its audio to submixes. Great. The first is to specify the base submix. Okay, where's the second?
They're missing the second right there. What?
I mean, unless no, I mean they're saying this submix, which I'm assuming this bass submix mixes the sound at full volume, which they kind of already mentioned already up here, right? About how the bass submix is kind of like at full volume or something along those lines.
Get what he has mentioned before.
Yeah, sound and the sources bass submix is submix that mixes sound output at full volume. Okay, so that first sentence on the second paragraph is kind of already mentioned that about the bass submix, right? So that's good. But it says if left blank, I'm assuming the bass submix, it
Yeah.
will route the audio to either the EQ submix or the master submix. Okay, depending on the legacy features. So I'm assuming I'm I'm assuming this if left blank is the second primary means of controlling where the sound source sends its audio to submixes. Okay,
Probably like they didn't specify, but it is a possibility.
it's the only thing that I can think of. If they're not addressing what the second is, because they're saying that the first is all about hey, you already have a bass submix and it's already at full volume. But they're saying hey, if you don't have a bass submix, then we route then we have to take the audio and send it to a master submix. So that's the only thing that I can think of out of this one. Again, it'd be nice if they said the second, if left blank, that would have been grand, but I can only, I can only imagine that this last sentence here is their second primary means of controlling where the sound source sends its audio to submixes. It's the only conclusion that I can think of. Um, so
Yeah, I can't think of anything else either. So
yeah,
yeah, could be that.
at least I hope so. If it's not, then well, guess what? They fucked up even more.
Yeah. If somebody knows this, like, let us know or be in the chat, or if you're watching this as a recording, down in the comments below.
Yeah. I would also recommend if Unreal Engine, individuals that work for Unreal Engine and you work on documentation, or maybe you're watching this and you're like going, oh yeah, we fucked up on this. Uh, you know, maybe talk to your people in charge of documenting and maybe fix your old documentation on 4.27. I mean, we've already covered a couple of problems with the 4.7 documentation anyway,
Yeah.
but
Especially since some of this documentation is shared with uh, Unreal Engine 5, some of it.
probably. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if they repeated it, because a lot of it, probably doesn't change all that much. So they probably did a lot of copying and pasting, which makes sense. But still, yeah, they might need to relook at their point and their 5 documentation as well. So, in addition to the master submix, 2 master effect submixes are created and added as children to this master submix. Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah, just something went and tried to go down my air pipe. So, these are the master reverb submix and the master equalizer submix. Okay. So there's two different two different types of submixes. They kept on addressing master submix, master submix, master submix, but now they're saying that there's now 2 master submixes. Hmm. These these master submixes were created primarily for backward compatibility with legacy features in Unreal Engine 4 and to add in swapping existing projects to the audio mixer. However, they are the underlying mechanisms that support the various high-level features in sound classes, sound mixes, audio volumes, and sound attenuations that interact with reverb and EQ, or equalizer. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
So, um, so they're basically saying that, you know, these are more for legacy than anything else. So, um, meaning I guess the master submix is meant to kind of handle the reverb and the equalizer by itself in older, in later versions or more recent versions, and they have these additional submixes for reverb and equalizer there just in case you have an older game. So,
Probably.
why? I don't know. Not quite sure what legacy, why they have these master submixes created for the older version. You would think that it'd
Well,
be.
I can imagine in the case of like remaking the game using the same source code.
Well, no, I get that. But my point is that normally when you are um like typically I would imagine like if you're adding more features onto a particular subject, such as reverb. Okay, you want to add more, you want to add more, and you want to add more. Sometimes that might bog up the system a little bit more. So now you want to maybe separate out the reverb from like the rest of the sound or something like that, right? That's what I would figure would happen. Like a master submix would necessarily, may need to be split into those two separate topics, such as reverb or equalizer, so that it can handle more about it. But based off of what they're saying here, these two were created to handle previous features, legacy features. So they no longer are used for any of the more recent features like in Unreal Engine 5. You won't necessarily see a master reverb submix or a master equalizer submix. Those aren't needed anymore. So the master submix is basically taking control over both of those, which again to me doesn't necessarily make too much sense to me. One would figure as you add more and more features in, um, you wouldn't necessarily want like one engine to potentially get bogged down by like if you're like off if all your audio suddenly goes like full reverb, a lot. But you have like some equalizers that need to be done, but the reverbs are kind of taking over control. You would think that maybe you need to kind of split them off so each can have an equal amount of time being processed. Um, but I don't know. It seems like that's the exact opposite of what they did there. So I don't know what's you know maybe I'm interpreting it incorrectly or something like that. I don't know.
We're not sound engineers, so we might be getting maybe a few things wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's a given. Um, we're probably going to be having some mistakes along the way. We're not experts in this, so that's understandable. But it feels odd. Like they had two separate submixes created prior in Legacy, and now they're kind of trying to combine it into one submix. Like maybe they had some problems um, with these different submixes trying to be processed at different times or something like that. Like maybe there was some maybe some timing issues going on that was wrong. I don't know. It just kind of feels a little odd, feels a little off. So I don't know. I mean, if anybody knows why they did it this way, obviously let us know. But um, just feels weird that they're, um, one would figure that you'd want, um, as you add more and more features onto your engine, the more and more you want to kind of separate out sections of the engine so that they can be um, properly handled. You know, you'd have subsections of the engine being worked on. You know, so you figure I would figure that a master reverb submix and a master equalizer would be not necessarily a legacy feature. You know, I don't know. That's just
I
me.
don't know.
You know, it seems odd, but you know, unless of course they didn't necessarily mean it that way. I don't know. We, we
Yeah,
can
I'm not
we
sure.
can speculate all day, but never really get anywhere on that. So, shall
No,
we?
not without help.
Yeah, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's.
Unless there's something else that you want to say about it.
No, no, not really. I can't think of anything right now.
Okay. Generating output. The master submix is the root node of the submix graph. The final output is generated by retrieving the audio generated from this master submix. The output of each submix object is generated by first generating the output of the submix's child submixes, and then mixing this output with any sources that have been registered or sent to it. The send amount of the registered sound sources are a gain attenuation on the sources mixed together in the submix. This mixed buffer is mixed to the output channel configuration for the hardware. For example, the stereo output, this would be a 2-channel audio buffer. For 7.1 audio, it would be an 8-channel audio buffer. Okay. This mixed interleaved audio is then fed through the submix's DSP effect chain to generate the final output. Okay, that's quite a mouthful there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was still okay with it for the most part. What about yourself?
I was able to follow.
Okay. You know, um, the fact that it's like, hey, first generate all the child submixes together to make one final submix out of all those childs. Then we add, all those submixes together to, basically generate the final, output submix. And then uh, we uh, we then output it to the hardware for multiple channels. How that really applies to the output, I don't really know. How does the buffer know like what channel it needs to go to, what speaker it needs to go to? I don't really know. I'm not quite sure. They're not really telling us there about that. And then, of course, you have the DPS effect chain, which um, they tried to address that, right?
DPS chain effect chain.
Yeah,
I don't recall them actually addressing that.
yeah. This
They
is
did mention it multiple times, but I don't recall them actually explaining what it is.
I mean, they talk about the DPS effect,
But not the chain.
but not the chain. You know, they talk about source effect chain, but again, that doesn't really explain, you know, what DPS effect chain is. So, I don't know. That's a little odd there. Kind of wish that they maybe explained that part a little bit more. But, alright, moving on.
Hopefully they explain that some at some point later in the future.
Maybe, maybe not.
Sure.
Okay, last section here. So we got additional submix features, analysis, recording, and listening. Submixes are the ideal object for performing audio analysis. Currently, there is a mechanism to register blueprint delegates, which retrieves amplitude envelope values from the submix per channel. This could be useful for a number of visualizations or gameplay systems that want to interact with audio. There's also a real-time FFT delegate to retrieve spectral data from submixes in Blueprint. Retrieve spectral data. Huh?
What is the spectral data?
What? Huh? Um,
Can't you explain that they're unreal? What is spectral data? Like, not everyone knows what that is.
I don't think that was ever
No,
addressed at
no,
all in this. So yeah,
I don't know what that is.
um, yeah, neither do I. Um, you know, submixes are the ideal object for performing audio analysis. Okay, sure, I guess. It kind of makes sense, I guess. Currently, there is a mechanism to register blueprint delegates. Not quite sure what blueprint delegates are. I mean, I kind
I
of know
guess
what.
it's some form of library that it
Yeah,
uses.
I don't know. Obviously, we know what blueprints are a little. We haven't like fully covered over that, but I mean, we kind they've implied it enough that I can kind of understand what they're kind of referring to there. What about yourself? Are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the blueprints part, yeah.
But I'm not quite sure what they mean by delegates out of it. Um, what exactly did they mean? What does delegates refer to? So, not sure. Um, which retrieves amplitude envelope values. I mean, amplitude is typically a sound effect more often than not. What the heck are envelope values?
Hey there, biology in a nutshell. We are learning the audio section of Unreal Engine 4 right now.
Try and do anyway.
Well, trying, yeah. We're
Yeah.
not sound engineers, we're programmers, but we don't have anyone to help us with sound.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get there, or we'll
Mm,
try to get there anyway.
yeah.
So,
As for that amplitude, I know amplitude is a form of measuring sound. I just don't know how it is here on in this case.
well,
Amplitude is the height of the wave. That's what biology is saying.
okay. That sounds right. I mean, I've seen it before. But again, I'm not quite sure what the
It
envelope
it
values
is
is.
the loudness.
All right. Okay. But yeah, envelope values I'm not quite sure about on that one. So, from the submix per channel. Um, Now, obviously, from the submix, with all the audio sound sources going into the submix, um, that, you know, sound waves, amplitudes, that makes sense. Okay, going into, from the submix. Per channel is kind of referring to the, you know, from what I can tell, a channel is basically based off of the speaker amount. Like you have like a number of speakers, so each channel would refer to
Yeah.
that per se.
Right
Uh,
now, we're not doing anything yet. We're learning how to use the Unreal Engine 4 because we've never used the Unreal Engine 4. We don't know how it manages anything there, and we're starting off by learning how it manages audio. So we're not really making anything yet.
yeah,
When we've gone through that documentation, then we're gonna start off with making some form of clone. We've not yet decided on that.
yeah,
And after that, we're gonna try and make our own game.
yeah. But all in due time. All in due
Yeah,
time.
we first gotta learn how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah. The idea is, I mean, sure, we can try to, make a clone right now, but with everything that Unreal Engine has, and the fact that neither one of us have worked with Unreal Engine before, if we try to use the engine without any knowledge of what it has, what it can do, then we're going to be making a lot of mistakes if we try to build a clone right from the start.
Yeah,
So, and I'd rather not yeah, I'd rather kind of reduce the amount of mistakes if we can learn about what it can do prior. Now, obviously, that's going to take a little bit of time to 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 try to learn as much as we can prior to making the clone, but it will probably save us some time as well because if we learn it now instead of trying to, you know, before we like make a mistake and we have to like backtrack a lot to try to fix that mistake later.
yeah.
So better to learn it now early than make a mistake later and have to do a lot of backtracking.
For
So
Godot in Unity, audio tends to be a node that is put into the space, and you can input sound from external equipment, EQ mixers. You don't necessarily need to use the audio that Unreal builds with. Well, the audio we will most likely get it from some other area, not necessarily use what Unreal has, but we will probably need to configure a few things regarding the audio so that it doesn't overwhelm everything else and that it sounds the way we wanted it to sound.
yeah,
And we do need some understanding of that. As for Godot and Unity, Godot is technically PC only, and we are hoping to one day like develop for other platforms. As for Unity, we lost all faith on that platform after their little stunt.
yeah. Um, the another re- and the one of the other reasons behind Unreal is the fact that it's mostly coded with C++, which is a major programming language. Whereas Unity has its own, Unity still uses the C sharp. So I mean, we could still use C sharp, but again, we lost faith in Unity. And Godot has its own
Also has its
scripting
own
language,
language.
and
Yeah.
we'd rather not use that. We'd rather use features that Unreal Engine has that we can also code in with C++ without any like complications on that. So plus learning C++ will help us, if we get a job and in the C++ industry. So, you know, uh, if we don't if we don't create something with Unreal Engine as a game, then we'll at least have some C++ background to take to a job, you know.
Yeah,
So there's always a another positive to what we're doing as well.
how
So
much
yeah.
experience do you have with sound? Little to nothing. I like we're not sound engineers. We're programmers.
Yeah.
So yeah, our knowledge of sound is like very limited.
Yeah. But I mean, the reason why we're going through these tutorials is to learn what we can, learn a little bit more of what the Unreal Engine has provided. Obviously, it feels kind of lacking in areas, but I mean, we're still getting some information from these documentation that they provided, so that will be
Yeah,
helpful to us when we do make, um, a clone and our own game later. Just like, for example, the ambient sound effect areas, for example.
yeah,
So, I knew that, that's a possibility, but, how they actually went about doing it is something that isn't, something that I would naturally know how to do with Unreal. I don't know how they go about doing it. So learning it
yeah.
here is helpful. So,
We also learning the sound classes was useful.
yeah. So,
One
so
one thing you want to know is how an EQ works. That will let me move something real quick.
here, hold on. Is it coming to
That will
you via,
explain amplitude and everything else very clearly. Who knows? It might be explained down the line. I mean, we still have a lot to cover from the audio. Like, we still have the OSC plugin overview, audio system overview, ports, audio stream catching, submixes, audio. I cannot pronounce that. Synesthesia, I think it is.
Synethia, yeah,
Synesthesia, I think that would be the correct pronunciation.
yeah,
Uh, Ambient sound actors, audio files,
yeah,
sound attenuation, sound cues,
yeah,
oh, two sound cues.
yeah.
So there's still plenty of us to cover. So hopefully, maybe it'll get to that point, and it actually explains it.
Yeah, but if it doesn't, then we will continue
We'll have
on.
to look it up.
Yeah, we'll continue on with, our studies, and if we come up with a part that we're not quite sure what's going on, like we encounter like say like a looping event happening during the game where the sound just keeps on looping over and over and over again when we really don't want it to, then obviously we'll probably need to kind of look that up a little bit more. Or maybe we're only hearing it from, like one speaker, but not out of the second, then we'll need to figure out, like, why is it only going through one channel when it should be going through two? Obviously, we'll have to address those when we get to those particular bugs. But obviously, that's something that we'll definitely need to handle. So, um, because let's face it, we're not going to be able to make something perfect, right off the bat. So,
Yeah,
but it's a good way for us to learn. We make mistakes. We work with what we got. We learn, more from what we don't know, and we go from there.
why
So
not look at the YouTube guide? Uh, and we would probably look that off stream because there is a bit of controversy go putting other like YouTube stuff on like on other people's channels.
I would recommend, I would feel better if we were able to get permission from
Yeah,
the tutorials first before we
yeah. The
did anything
creator will
along those
need to give
lines.
us permissions in order to put it on our live streams.
I mean, let's we could still try to do the whole uh like watch the video, pause it, give our feedback, try to talk and discuss what was talked about during the video and stuff like that, basically trying to make it as transformative as we possibly can so they don't necessarily come after us for copyright infringement.
Yeah,
But it's better to just kind of go through the documentation that Unreal has at the start here. Again, we can always go through those tutorials
at our own time, pretty
uh,
much.
in our own time, true. As well as, if we need to, we can always go back to those. If we're not really understanding a particular concept, we can those those videos are out there. We can watch them at any time to try to learn more. Okay, this is just kind of giving us a base foundation right at this moment in time. You know, and I'm not expecting to be a sound engineer by the end of this, particular study session. I'm assuming Blackheart doesn't expect to be a sound
Mm.
engineer by the end of this session, but it's still,
No.
but it's still one of those things where it's like, let us get a good foundation first.
Yeah.
Um,
2D or 3D? We haven't decided if it's gonna be a 2D or 3D yet.
Personally, I prefer more TD for both clone and for our game,
Yeah.
because both Blackheart and I are probably going to need to work on the art of this game. And let's face it, I'm not an artist. I don't think
Neither am
Blackheart's an
I.
artist. Trying to do 3D art? Oh my God.
I don't
That's
know. Depends on the tool, I guess, in that part.
that. I mean, I would try. I'd probably hate trying to do anything in 3D at this particular moment in time. 3D is an entirely different beast when it comes to art, and
Unreal
um,
uses nodes, though, right? I don't know if Unreal uses nodes. I know it uses blueprints. As for nodes, I know it has sound blueprints. I don't know if those count as nodes.
nodes as in like Unity nodes.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think their blueprints are kind of similar to that.
yeah. Their
Um,
blueprints might be something like close.
Yeah. And blueprints is something it goes beyond just audio, my friend. And they have blueprints
Yeah,
for like graphics and
yeah.
so on
They
and so
have
forth. So
yeah sound blueprint, mechanic blueprints,
physics
visual
blueprints,
blueprints.
yeah, that I'm sure that they have plenty. It's just we haven't gotten to that spot yet in our study session, so
No.
we'll get there. We'll get there though.
Yeah, we still need to go through the animation, collision, physics.
Yeah,
Still need to go through that.
yeah,
Yeah, I still don't know how Unreal manages physics.
yeah. We'll get there. So. Okay, so submixes also have a feature to enable recording their output to either uSound wave object or to a raw PCM wave file to disk. Okay. Finally, there is a C++ delegate that can be registered by other code systems to retrieve the mixed audio from any submix dynamically. This functionality can be used for a number of useful features, like internet broadcasting, for server-based streaming of a game, or third-party plugin extensions. Okay. Any questions about that there, my friend, or?
No, I don't have any questions on that.
Okay.
And that's the end of this section.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered the audio mixer overview. We've reached the end of that. So, um, today, uh, I mean, we're done with this. Obviously, the next topic that we're going to need to go to is called the OCS plugin overview, or okay, it looks like it's called the Open Sound Control plugin overview. So, this looks like it is a fairly large topic, but at least at the same time, it looks like there's information here about like, how to use variables and stuff like that. So normally we just kind
Yeah,
of bypass that for the most part.
yeah. These are the
Um,
blueprints. These are being shown on this image. Like
yeah.
this is how it manages the audio, and some of this is editable. Like I think most of it goes through the sound class for the most part.
Well, I mean, it depends on what blueprints you're adding in there. So,
Yeah,
um, like it, and like we said, the audio, graphical, physics, there's multiple different blueprints that Unreal Engine has. From what I gathered from like various other things that I've seen, it almost seems as though you can pretty much build a game with just the blueprints themselves. Okay.
yeah.
You don't need to, you know, you might be able to just kind of, um, you know, you can build the game with just the blueprints. You don't even need to do any kind of coding whatsoever. You might not necessarily need to do that because maybe the blueprints handles it all. I don't really know. Um, but um,
I might need to look at Lixium's videos or VODs because Lixium did do that pretty much on with Unreal Engine 4.
yeah. But I mean, at the same time, we might need to, you know, uh, I mean, it's going to be helpful for us to, use and learn C++ more. Like I said, I've used it before myself. It's been a long time since I've used it, but you know, um, I'll probably be making some mistakes on that. I know that you haven't used C++ before, but I'll try to be there for
Yeah,
you.
I use C sharp,
So,
but not C++.
yeah. Um, it, obviously there's going to be, differences between the two. But I would
Special
imagine that,
audio nodes to all you need then, in combination with a collision mesh that could trigger audio. You should be fine with special audio nodes.
yeah, probably.
Probably.
Probably. Um, it's the, you know, it, you know, obviously the Unreal Engine is going to be vast. It has a lot of features to it. I mean, it's been built upon for a long time now.
Oh
So
yeah.
we have a lot to kind of cover. And we might not use a lot of this that we're kind of covering as well. Like our first,
At least not at the beginning at least.
for example, our first clone might be like some of the simplest thing that we've ever created before. Okay, we might just do like a simple like Tetris clone or something like that. Who knows, right? So, it might, you know, now obviously it'd probably be in our best interest to create a clone that is not only simple but also tries to have as many of the features that we want to use later on. Like audio, like player controls, like AI, like graphical manipulation in some fashion or another. You know, but um, but we'll need to figure out like you know not only do we need to make a simple game, but we need to also have it somewhat complex as well. So we learn everything that we can about Unreal um, from that clone. We make mistakes, we learn from it, Um, and we take everything that we learned from these study sessions that we're doing right now and
Yeah.
our coding sessions that we'll do afterwards, and we take that and make something that we will be proud of. So and make a game that we can potentially sell off to that anybody wants to play it. So obviously, that's further down the road. We're not going to be able to we're not going to be able to build a game tomorrow. That's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
um,
Why don't we do trial by fire? Well, like we said, we first want to learn the engine so that we at least know somewhat what we're doing.
yeah, if we do trial by fire, then we'll definitely burn.
Yeah.
So
No, well, it'll take us significantly longer to get any project done.
yeah, well,
Not to
not
mention the number of bugs we might generate.
we would if we did a trial by fire right now, we would definitely be making a lot of bugs.
It will
We'd
be unplayable, pretty much.
well, I don't know about unplayable. Um, I mean, we'll still try to learn how to fix said bugs. It will take a long time for us to try to fix said bugs. We'll probably make it really inefficient and problematic. The potential for us making um, memory leaks could be potentially very high if we rush into it. So that's not great. Um, So, I mean, I can see a lot of problems for us trying to rush into creating something trial by fire. So, um, so I'd rather
And we don't
build.
have pretty that much time to spend on it as well.
I mean, uh, I mean,
We're
if
both
it,
pretty much looking for a job. Have to take care of a baby.
yeah, I mean, we can, hey, what we could do is we can completely wipe out our gaming sessions that we do and go full coding sessions. We could do that, but then we might not have as much, that might raise our stress levels to the point where we may burn out from that. I don't really want that to happen. I want to continue working towards a goal. I don't want to stress ourselves out by getting to that point. So, um, could we add more time to our or to these study sessions, to these coding sessions? Sure, sure we can.
Yeah. Like
Um,
I
but
know we wouldn't make a trial by fire to release, but we do want to make something to release and get some feedback from whoever plays it.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely going to be playing it on my stream.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll probably
it's like,
if it's short, I'll probably make a video of it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll probably play it for a couple weeks and go, hey guys, look, I made a game. Look at this game. See how I play it. See how fun it looks. Please consider buying it. That kind of thing. I'll probably do that. I'll probably promote it the hell out of it. Um, and obviously, we'll try to make it as I wouldn't want to create a our initial game to be super large to the point where we're like, hey, we're gonna make a $60 game on our first game. Oh no.
No, no. We're starting small.
Yeah. We'll make something small enough for, um, that it could either be repeatable, um, that a person kind of repeat plays, or something that's very short, like maybe like a 1 hour, 2 hour game or something like that. We sell it off for like $1, and um, you know, I'm not expecting to get thousands upon thousands of dollars on it or anything along those lines, but
No.
no one should expect that, especially for the first game, especially for a no-name indie developer. Okay. We don't have any prior games made at this point. Well, I mean, my name is on a published game, but yeah, I did 3 months with a corporation as a backup programmer, and to be honest, I didn't really do the whole lot of programming. But hey,
Yeah. I tried making something in Unity up until my hard drive died, and that was a long time ago.
yeah,
Never published it because one, I lost it. Two, I wasn't satisfied with it when I was working on it.
yeah, I was working on a Unity game as well. I mean, people can go to my playlist and look through that session that I did. And maybe I will go back. Maybe I'll convince Blackheart to join me on making that game through Unreal. I don't really know. We'll have to see about it, but obviously
Yeah.
later. Um, but I knew that I did like a trial by fire for the most part on that Unreal or on the Unity engine back then. Um, and I was making a lot of mistakes. I was messing up big time. I knew that I was messing up big time. Um, but I was trying to do that through. I was trying to do it on stream, show my development through stream, and again, I was concerned about, you know, if I watched any like tutorial videos or something like that, then
We'd
um,
get in trouble.
yeah, so I didn't really do that too
There
often.
always exists a possibility of putting someone else's content on your content and causing you trouble. That's always a possibility.
Yeah,
And it has happened to other channels.
yep,
Heck, I heard of a channel that actually got banned for doing that.
yeah, yep. So, I mean, if you get a lot of copyright strikes on your channel, it's gone. So, 3 strikes and you're out. So, I mean, you could try to appeal it, but sometimes if it's coming from another YouTube channel and they feel like you know, you're not doing enough transformative work on their content, then you know, then they're not gonna give way to those strikes. They're gonna say, no, fuck you. Your channel's gone. I don't care about your channel. You use my content. How dare you?
Yeah,
And you know,
always ask for permission before using someone else's content.
pretty much, pretty
Yeah.
much. So,
Hold on there, Jim.
worries.
Please can I work with you guys later tonight? I did sound for my church and understand Blender, so I could help. No need to pay me. Hmm. Well, like I said, we're not doing a trial by fire. We're first going to learn the engine. As for developing something, I leave that up to you, Jim.
Okay. So here's the thing. Okay. Um, Personally, I don't necessarily mind working with others. I don't mind working on a team on projects like this. Okay, but at the same time, they have to understand that the likelihood of us kind of making any kind of like money off of this or um, is not. I mean, we have to understand that the first game might not make any money. Hell, 10 games from now, we still might not be making any kind of money. Okay. So, they have to understand that, um, you know, while Blacker and I are doing these streams to learn, um, you know, maybe these streams will eventually get to a point where, we're making money off of the streams, and that might supplement us down the road. But at the same time, myself. Blackheart, we both might get a job that might take us away from this particular project. Um, so the project might just gone, might stop. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a reality that both Blackheart and I know about. So if anybody wants to join us on that, then they have to understand that that might happen. Okay, I'm not saying that it's um, you know, I mean, Blackheart and I have to live as well.
Yeah, well, you
Um,
gotta eat.
so, um,
Uh,
but, um, but you know, the, if you want to join us, then I would recommend,
he says, I completely understand. I never wanted to earn money from game design. I know how hard this process is.
yeah, it is not an easy process. Um, so, here's what would say. Right now, we're not at the point of making any kind of audio. Like we said before, we're not at the point where we have decided
Yes,
on
we're
a
not developing yet.
yeah, we're not at the development stage. Okay, we haven't gotten to the point of creating a clone. We haven't gotten to the process of creating the game that we want to make. Right? We're not there yet. But here's what I will say. If you want to continue with us, and um, because let's face it, when we start working on the clone and when we start working on our game, we're going to be needing to throw on a lot of hats on ourselves. Okay, art,
Yeah.
audio, programming,
Physics.
marketing. I mean, there's a lot that we need to handle when it comes to any kind of development. What I would recommend is try to be here as much as you can with our streams. If you want to, here's a suggestion. You're welcome to join our Discords. Like right now, Blackheart is currently on my Discord right now in the stage, and I'm talking to him, through Discord right now. You're welcome to go in there and listen to us right there in that stage if you want to. Join Blackheart's, join mine, and you can join us on those stages to listen into us on there. Um, if you want to maybe get to a point of speaking, then I would feel like be here with us, for a long period of time, and that will earn trust to the point of we will allow for you to, step up into more of a speaking role if you're okay with that. You don't have to if you don't want to.
The link to my Discord and Jim's channel is down in the description below.
Yeah.
I have all the links down there.
So, I would, you know, I feel more comfortable with individuals that understand, where we're at. Like, I'm not gonna say, "Oh yeah, biology, come on, come right on in." I haven't gained that trust from you, unfortunately. Not yet, anyway. But if you're here, if you join us for these daily study sessions, if you talk with us and you join us on it, then that trust is earned. And if you want to work with us on trying to make audio for these games, then I would say sure, come right on in. I wouldn't mind um, some additional support when it comes to audio because like we've said, Blackheart and I are not audio engineers. But at the same time, I wouldn't say no either. But you have to be here with us on it. Uh, you know, hey, if you miss a day or two, that's perfectly fine. But I mean, if you're still kind of with us, you know, when you can, then that builds trust over time, and um, you know that will earn you a spot into what we develop in the future. That's my position. Blackheart, what do you say? Do you
I
kind
agree
of
with you.
you follow with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't wanna overshadow you either, though, Blackheart. So I want to make sure that
Don't worry.
you're okay on that as well. So okay. But that's gonna be it. We gotta close on down, my friend.
Yeah, I gotta get some food before we start our Terraria session.
Yep, indeed. So, um, so we're gonna close on down. We'll cover the open source control tomorrow, or no, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's your day off. We'll
Yeah,
do
the current time, yes.
yeah, we'll do open source control on Wednesday.
Yeah,
So, um, so open source control, Wednesday to 2 o'clock p.m. PST, or um, what is it? Like it's currently 7:22 your time, or is it 6:22?
when I start, it's right now it's 8:22 right now.
It's 8:22 right now. Okay, so it's 5 hours.
Yeah,
So it'd be around 7:22, 7 o'clock when you um
when I start, yeah.
when you start. So
7 GMT minus 3 time zone.
yeah, mine is -8, I believe. So yeah. So if you're just interested in the Unreal, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right, but that's going to be it for today's session for Unreal. So thank you all for very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Um, if you're watching this later on YouTube, feel free to do a like and subscribe. Help us out with the YouTube algorithm. That would be fantastic. Check out our descriptions, both Blackheart and I, for links, Discord. Mine has Patreon and Throne, which I believe you have Throne
I
there,
have thrown as well.
right? Um, Also check out the Stream Team application link on our descriptions for Team Robot. Feel free to check out the document explaining what the team is all about, and submit your name in for consideration for position in Team Robot if you're so inclined. Obviously, check out that document, see if you like what our objectives are, what our mission statement is. If it's something that you can agree with, if it's something that you want to support, then we're always looking for more members on that. So, but that's about it. So,
Yep.
all right, my friend, I'll catch you in a couple hours or an
Eh,
hour or two. So,
hopefully an hour.
yeah. So, all right, man. You enjoy your food, and I will catch you later.
Yep.
All right.
See you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. And for those of you that are still with me on my stream, again, thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll catch you next time. Um, we're going to be moving on to video uploads here in just a second, and then Terraria later. So, but thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I catch you next time. But until then, take care. Have a good night. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And I'll catch you strangers next time.